Okay, welcome everyone. Please let us know if you cannot hear us for some reason. Welcome to our session launching a business in 9 steps. My name is Dominic Pogge, and I'm Regional Director for the Southwest Indiana Small Business Development Center.
And my name is Art McDonald. I'm the navigator for the Small Business Development Center here. Good morning.
So we are going to take you guys through a quick and dirty framework for evaluating a business idea and thinking through some of the major segments that you might need to map out and execute on should you decide to pursue a business idea. So to get us started, we wanted to do an overview of our organization. There is a poll that should be active. We're basically trying to collect some information on whether you've heard of the Small Business Development Center before. So if you wouldn't mind, please respond to that poll. That'll give us a good sense of what kind of awareness is out there. But to do that overview, I'm going to share my screen and show you our website, which is isbdc.org. And we essentially help small businesses throughout every stage of their journey. Whether you have an idea on the back of a napkin and want to bring it forward, you have an existing business that you're looking to grow and maybe need some financing, you're looking for help with innovation, or even looking to exit a business, we can help you across this entire life cycle. We have 10 locations throughout Indiana, and I want to emphasize that you are invited and absolutely welcome to come and work with our regional offices. All of our services are free. They're also confidential. So you can come and meet with an SBDC business advisor one-on-one to help you out with whatever it is you're trying to work through at the time. We also have a lot of training classes that you can find on our website as well. But if you were to click on Find Your Location, it'll show you the different regional offices. And Art and I are part of the Southwest Indiana regional office here, covering the 8 counties in Southwest Indiana. So again, we just invite you to come and meet with our business advisors. Should you want to pursue a business and need help with any aspect of that, you can click through to see who the folks are within your regional office and then find contact information to get started with them. So to dive into the content today, we're actually going to look at a tool called the Business Model Canvas. If you've never heard of this before, we're going to share the template for it along with the cheat sheet that we created. And you can also Google this to find it online. But essentially, it's a one-page document that can help you quickly jot down the different aspects you'll need to think through for a particular business idea. We're going to role play in a little bit here on developing an ice cream shop, but we'll walk through the cheat sheet that we created first. So looking at that cheat sheet, we have numbered each of these segments because they actually make sense to work through in a particular order that's not necessarily in how the page is laid out. So the first segment that you'll want to consider, or the first area, is your customer segment. So this assumes that you have a particular business idea that you want to flesh out. And it makes sense to start thinking about the different customer segments that might use the product or service that you're looking to develop. So in customer segments, you're really looking to identify the groups of customers that your business targets. And you really want to understand these different segments so that you can tailor your offerings. Good examples of this are, I have mass market appeal, or I'm trying to really just sell to a niche market. Maybe there's different segments of the marketplace that can all use your product or service in slightly different ways. There are lots of other ways to segment your customers, but do whatever makes the most sense for you based on your initial thoughts. So some examples here are Amazon segments their customers by demographics like age, gender, and then even behaviors like being price conscious or seeking convenience. And then they also look at things like geography in terms of urban versus rural. If you're a travel agent, you might think about targeting adventure seekers and relaxation-focused vacationers. So to further flesh out this particular section, I'll jump over to our template here and show you in real time. We're going to fill this out with you along the way. And I'm going to role play this with Art here. So, Art, let's say you want to start an ice cream shop.
Yeah.
How would you start to think about segmenting your customers?
So that's a great question. So the way I would start is to think about who likes ice cream. Who Many people like ice cream, right? I love ice cream. Sometimes I get in trouble.
Same here.
But yeah, you want to think about how many people, especially for children, would like ice cream as a treat. Maybe they got rewarded for, something doing well in school or whatever. It'd be a good treat. So families, I would think about.
Okay. So we can write down families. What about geography? If you got an ice cream shop in a small town, USA, are you trying to target everyone in that state, or are you just trying to target maybe people in that county?
Yeah, people in that county for sure.
Okay. So what about some other segments, maybe groups of friends that want to come in?
Yeah, I would do groups of friends. Maybe I would target maybe college kids.
Okay. If there's a university nearby.
Right.
So I think you can get the idea here that you want to start thinking about some ways to segment your customers. And ice cream is a great example because everyone loves ice cream. Who doesn't love ice cream? But it's still important to start to break down those different customer segments so that you can understand how you want to tailor them, tailor some of your other aspects of this plan to them. I'm going to pop over to our main control room here and just make sure we don't have any questions coming up. Okay, so popping back to our cheat sheet here, the next section is value propositions. So that's the center section here. And in value propositions, what you're thinking about are essentially the unique aspects of your product or service that appeal to your customers. So you want to differentiate your business from your competitors and address any potential customer pain you might have identified. So great examples of this are Tesla. They offer sustainable high-performance electric vehicles. And then Netflix provides a vast library of on-demand streaming content. So Art, for our ice cream shop, what would you say is one of our value propositions?
I like to think that we're more health conscious.
Okay. So maybe offering frozen yogurt and different related products?
Yeah, different menu items that are healthy offerings.
Okay. Great. And sometimes it's good to think about your competition more broadly than the next ice cream shop down the street. So why would someone, for example, want to go to an ice cream shop versus going to the grocery store and buying a pint of ice cream?
Well, they would want to come to this particular shop because of the atmosphere.
Okay.
You can run into your best friend there and have a sit down, great conversation over a bowl of ice cream.
Sure. Great. And I also tend to think of an ice cream shop as like elevated ice cream. Like that's better than what I'm going to get in the grocery store. So
Right.
maybe there's handcrafted ice cream that you're doing. Okay. So we've got our customer segments and some of our value propositions, how we're unique in this space. And looking back at our cheat sheet, the next section would be channels. So here, we're going to start to think about how are we going to reach these customers? How are we going to communicate to them the value proposition that we're bringing to the marketplace? So since we've done a good job of outlining some customer segments, that's going to help us in figuring out how are we going to reach those folks. So the examples here on the cheat sheet are Apple. They use both online and offline channels. So they'll have an apple.com website where you can buy their products. And then they also have Apple stores, which you can walk into a physical retail store to look at their products, feel them, and then buy them as well. Coca-Cola utilizes retail stores, vending machines, and online platforms to reach their customers. So thinking about our ice cream shop example, what are some ways that you're going to reach your customers? The first thing I think about is this ice cream shop is a physical storefront. So that probably is a channel, right?
Of course, yeah.
People can walk by that. So we can even say that, okay, our storefront is our very first channel.
Right.
What other ways might we want to reach these customer segments?
Online orders.
Okay. Maybe an app.
Yeah.
And then in thinking about marketing to them, where do we think that these customer segments are going to likely hear a message about the unique offering that we have?
More than likely on radio or television.
Okay. So radio. We could say traditional media here.
Yeah. Maybe like some podcasts or different music apps,
Okay.
Pandora, things like that.
So you've got quite a few options here. But again, the important thing is to think about how you're going to reach the customer segments that you've identified in step one. Back to our cheat sheet, the next section is customer relationships. So we're on number 4 right now. And these are the types of relationships that you'll establish with your customers. So, are you going to do a self-service ice cream bar, or are you going to, scoop it for them? I think that's probably the more likely scenario. But you really want to build trust and loyalty by providing good support to your customers. And in the ice cream shop context, maybe that means there's a loyalty program, like a punch card you get, where you get a free scoop for every 10 purchased. So in terms of broader examples, Amazon, they offer personalized recommendations and then customer support. For Uber, they provide real-time updates and then in-app support. So in thinking about our ice cream shop, what are the other aspects here? So we talked about like maybe a rewards program, right? You mentioned the atmosphere, so that makes me think about like, hey, maybe we host like a poetry slam on Monday nights to give folks who are interested in something like that a place to do it.
Also, the atmosphere would be great for taking selfies, pictures to post on Instagram, Snapchat.
Okay. So murals and selfie backdrops.
Right.
Yeah. Anything else along these lines?
Just have an all-around great experience for our customers.
Okay.
So they'll keep coming back and they'll tell a friend.
Those are great aspects. I'm going to pop over to our control room and see that we have any questions. Let's see. Yes, we have a link to the website that we reviewed in the beginning. That's isbdc.org. So that stands for Indiana Small Business Development Center.org. You can also Google that and should be able to find the website as well. Next up is section 5, which is our revenue streams. So we're looking at the lower right corner here of our cheat sheet, and the ways in which your business generates revenue is what's important here. So this is a really important aspect because you want to think through some different income sources. A lot of times businesses will thrive on having multiple income sources. So you may think about in this ice cream shop context, okay, of course people are going to walk into my storefront, but how else might I be able to generate revenue? Some of the broader examples that are included here on the cheat sheet are Spotify. They earn revenue through premium subscriptions and then ad-supported models. So they've got like 2 different options there that you can decide to pay for a premium service or choose to view ads, which they make money from. And then for Microsoft, they generate income from software sales and cloud services. Pretty large, broad companies, but illustrates the point nonetheless. So bringing it down to our ice cream shop, of course, the store is going to generate sales for us, so store sales. How else might we be able to generate some revenue from an ice cream shop?
We talked about having an app earlier, so maybe have some advertisements on the app from other businesses.
In-app ads. Let's maybe think about some other types of customers that we might be able to serve. What if there's like a large company nearby and they do events? Could we maybe set up an ice cream bar at events?
Yeah, we can become a vendor.
Yeah. I just need to learn how to spell first. I'm going to throw weddings on there too. Seems like a cool idea for some weddings that you might have an ice cream bar there.
Yeah, schools.
Yeah, schools. Yeah. Okay, so we've got multiple revenue streams here for our ice cream shop. Next, we're going to want to look at key resources. So step number 6 is to think about what are the essential assets that you need for this business. You want to make sure that you've got the necessary resources to deliver on the value proposition that we've outlined. So examples in a broad context are Google. They rely on advanced computing infrastructure and skilled engineers. And McDonald's needs a large network of restaurants and supply chain logistics in order to maintain a brand and get you the same experience, whether you walk into a McDonald's in Indiana or Hawaii. So looking at our ice cream shop, what are some of the key resources that we're going to need to run this?
Well, you definitely need a facility.
Okay.
You need a point of sale system.
They call that a POS.
We need some employees.
Employees, yep. Right. Are we going to make the ice cream ourselves, or are we going to buy it from a vendor?
Making it. So we'll pride ourselves on being homemade.
Okay.
Yeah. So.
And then what about the ingredients there? We probably need like solid ingredient vendors then if we're going to be making that, right?
Right.
So I'm going to say vendors. We'll probably need multiple of those. So you can start to see some of the key resources that you'll really need to think through in order to bring to life what we're talking about here. Each of these key resources has their own complexities and all kinds of things to think through. So by going through this exercise, you can at least start to identify what are the major areas that you're going to need to look down in order to power this type of business. I'm going to check in on our questions here. Don't see any at the moment. So looking at section 7, key activities. So these are the main operations and tasks that are required to deliver your value proposition. You're going to want to think about critical activities that drive your business success. So in terms of Tesla, they focus on electric vehicle manufacturing and software development. For example, Tesla is not contracting with another company to make their vehicles. They're choosing to do that in-house. Amazon will engage in logistics optimization and digital content creation. So they're wanting to deliver their own packages and maintain their own warehouses and all the operations associated with that. When it comes to digital content creation through Prime, they're choosing to not just stream content created elsewhere, but content that they've created themselves. So applying that to our ice cream shop example, what are some of the key activities then that we're engaged in?
Yeah. So again, partnering with schools to
Okay.
be able to go there and
Partnerships. I think you mentioned like handcrafting our own ice cream, right? Like that's a key activity to all of this. So
Right.
being consistent around that.
Right.
So just making ice cream.
Yeah. And even maybe showing how we make ice cream on TikTok videos.
Okay. Yeah.
Instagram pics.
Great. So we've got some key activities here again that have all of their own different aspects to them that we would probably need to think through further. So moving on to step 8, key partners. Here's where we're going to outline who our strategic partners or suppliers are that would support what we're trying to do. We want to make sure that we're trying to reduce our risks, improve efficiency, gain access to new markets. When it comes to Tesla, they offer sustainable high-performance electric vehicles. Actually, these are the wrong examples. I'm sorry. We'll update our cheat sheet before we send it out with some better examples here. But thinking about our ice cream shop for our key partners here, we mentioned in activities, our partnerships are a key to that. So you mentioned schools.
Right.
Okay. We've talked about corporations,
Weddings.
wedding venues, wedding planners.
Right.
So those are all for that additional revenue stream that we're talking about. What about on our ingredients? If we're trying to handcraft ice cream, we want to find some solid vendors for that, right?
Yeah.
And we probably want to start naming them out and identifying, okay, where can we get certain ingredients? And you're also going to want to think through, to what degree do you want to do this from scratch, right? Do you want to be milking the cows to get the milk for this, or are you going to be buying that milk, from
Yeah.
a vendor, right?
And it would primarily be local vendors that we would look for.
Okay. So local focus for your vendors.
Yep.
That's good. Any other key partnerships that we might need to make this thing succeed?
It's always good to know about like the latest trends in the industry. So wherever you can get some information or go to different conventions and things like that to learn your craft more, to learn about the newest equipments that are available, all of that stuff.
Sure. So I'm going to summarize that as like educational partners. There's definitely an art to making ice cream, and you probably want to refine that over time. Great. So looking at the last section here in the bottom left, we're talking about the cost structure. So these are the main elements that are associated with running your business. You want to make sure that you're managing your costs effectively to maintain your profitability and competitiveness. Good examples are Walmart. They have pretty high costs when it comes to logistics. So just getting products to and from their stores and managing what they call their supply chain. For Netflix, they spend a lot of money on content acquisition and then producing their own content. So you're going to want to really think through, what are your major costs that are involved in running this kind of business? So in thinking about an ice cream shop, what kind of costs do we have what are the major cost categories we need to think through there?
Yeah, I would definitely think about overhead, like what is my lease or rent? What's the cost of that?
Yep.
Utilities.
Yep.
So we talk
Power.
about, power,
Gas,
water,
maybe.
yeah.
Water. Okay.
Whatever software I'm using for point of sales and website.
Yep. Software, technology.
Yeah. Just all around maintenance, having some money on hand for any kind of maintenance. Let's say a chair breaks or something, and we have to replace it.
I'm going to call that maintenance / an emergency fund.
Yeah.
We're probably going to pay a lot of money or a good chunk of money on ingredients and just, what we call cost of goods.
Right.
So your cost of goods is all the things that it takes to go and make, think about just a scoop of ice cream. It's the ingredients, but it's also the cup and the spoon and maybe the cone, or the ingredients and the waffle maker to make a waffle cone. You want to start to really write up lists and start
Marketing.
to figure out, what are these things going to cost us? Yeah, marketing's a good one too. So you can see that the list starts to go on. So this was a very quick overview of the business model canvas and how it can be used as a tool to quickly work through a specific business idea and signal to you whether or not you want to pursue this further. Sometimes we'll see that clients will work through multiple iterations of this tool. And sorry, might have lost audio here. I'm going to come back in. Sorry if we lost you guys there for a second. So this tool can be used multiple times over. You can think about printing out this business model canvas, and you might print yourself 10 of these so that you can work through them over the series of several weeks as you think about business ideas or development of your business ideas. And as you work through this sheet, if you arrive on one that you think, okay, now we really want to pursue this, then you can start to dive deeper into all of these other segments. And the good news is that when you've approached it from this higher level, a lot of times we encourage folks to write up a business plan. So put in writing, what is it that you're going to do here? Even if it's something as simple as ice cream, as you can start to see, there's a lot of complexity that goes into getting you that good high quality scoop of ice cream. So you want to flesh out a written business plan, which will more fully articulate what are you going to do in each of these areas. And if you've gone through the business model canvas here, you've given yourself the major sections of that business plan that you now need to go through and start to put more detail behind. So there are a few questions here in the Q&A that I'm going to go through for you guys. So the first one is, what are some ways to get an idea for a successful business? This phrase comes to mind, necessity is the mother of all inventions. If you've ever heard that before, you might think about it in terms of, well, look at your own life and your own experience, and what is it that you need that you don't have today? Where do you have difficulty with things? What's harder than maybe it should be? There's all kinds of ways that you can come up with business ideas. And I think it just requires a little bit more focused or intentional thought on what am I dealing with in my own life, or what am I observing? And what ideas within that might I be able to potentially generate some income on, and be able to do so to an extent that it helps me pay the bills and hire others, and they can do that as well.
Right. So always, if you could think about this saying, see a need, fill a need. That's usually helpful when it comes to what ideas that you think you can turn into a business.
Yeah. And then by using this business model canvas, you can test out those ideas to see, hey, is there really something here? Should I pursue this any further? And then we invite you to work with our business advisors within the SBDC to come in with your business model canvas, and we can help talk through some of those ideas you might have. Or if you're even struggling to get an idea for a successful business, then those are things that we can help you with as well. So there's a lot of help out there, and we encourage you to reach out and utilize it. The other question we have here is, do you want to think about taxes a lot when thinking of an idea? My answer to that is probably not at that stage, but there are certainly tax implications or different scenarios that might come about based on different things you might work on. But those are, again, things that we would encourage you to work with a business advisor on. That tends to come in those decisions about how do we structure a legal entity for this type of business, which has effects on the taxes. Those decisions aren't usually made on the front end when you're thinking about a business idea. Would you agree?
Yeah.
Add anything to that?
No, I mean, it will help you determine what kind of business you want to set up.
Yeah. So those are all the questions that I see right now. We'll stay on for a few minutes. I know we've got a few minutes left here in your session. If there are other questions that you guys want to put through, we'll be happy to take those. But I'll use this opportunity just to reiterate that there's a lot of help out there. The SBDC is one of many programs that can help you with a business. We like to say that age doesn't matter here. We don't care how old you are. You come in and utilize our services all the same as anyone else. We have another question that did come in is, do you have any advice when it comes to expanding a business, specifically something like helping restore the environment, to other places internationally?
It's a great question.
Yeah. It's pretty specific. I think I'd probably need to learn more about what type of business this is and what your goals are and what you've done to date to really provide some specific advice. But I think maybe a piece of advice that we often give clients is that it really helps to have a lot of experience in a given area before you go into business for yourself. So if you have your sights set on doing business internationally in some type of industry, we suggest you go try out and work in that industry or gain exposure to that industry in some way, shape, or form prior to stepping out on your own.
And understand the policies of these places internationally. Each place has different laws, policies, and things like that. So you definitely want to study up on those things.
Yeah. And again, there's lots of help there. We actually have some export specialty advising within our organization, which means that if you want to sell your products internationally, even if it's just to Canada, we can actually help with a lot of specific advice around here's what the policies are. Here are the things that you need to think through in order to do it right, in order to get your products out there. A question that came in is, what are the greatest challenges to keeping a business financially viable after startup? You want to take a stab at that one?
Yeah, well, as an entrepreneur myself, one of the things is always keeping a steady flow of the customers that you need to support your business and become successful. So how can you do that? You have to think about pretty much the things that we covered earlier, the marketing, all the other costs, that you can make sure your business can handle and sustain. And also finding out where the money is. Access to capital is always a thing. So when you have those resources, that would help you become more viable and successful.
Yeah, and I would say another phrase comes to mind that we hear sometimes is cash is king. Cash flow is king. So we talked about some of the expenses and the cost structure that you would have with an ice cream shop, right? You're going to have those expenses whether you're selling ice cream or not. You're going to have to pay the rent, the utilities. Your ingredients are going to expire if they're not used. So you're having to buy new ingredients all the time. Those costs are going to come in whether or not you're selling ice cream. So you got to keep sales up to keep that cash flowing and cover those costs, but also generate enough profit to make it worth it for you as the business owner. So that's, I think, one of the biggest challenges to keeping a business financially viable is keeping that cash flowing. So you're always going to want to be thinking about, where's our next customer coming from? And am I doing everything I can to ensure that steady flow of customers and even grow it over time?
And even retaining it, you get competition that may go a couple blocks down from you. So how can you retain your customers as well?
Yeah. Now, that's why thinking about things like reward programs and, okay, I got someone through my doors. Now, how do I get them to come back, right? Not only do I serve them a great product, but let's make sure that they feel really welcome here and appreciated, and that it's an inviting space they want to come back to and even tell others about.
Great question.
Yeah, good questions, guys. We've got a couple more minutes. We're going to stay online and answer any other questions that we might see come in. One thing I'll mention then is an area that we get a lot of questions about in terms of grants. A lot of clients come to us asking what kind of grants are out there. And if you're not familiar with grants, it means money that you can essentially apply for and potentially win. Sometimes people call it free money, but usually it comes with strings attached. But for example, there is, if you Google Elevate Small Business Grant, it's a $20,000 grant opportunity. There's not a lot of grants that are available for-profit businesses, but this Elevate Small Business Grant is one that we see come up each year for Indiana and Michigan-based businesses that also has a lot of wide applicability to Main Street type businesses, I call them. So ice cream shops and salons and, the things you're probably most familiar with. That grant does require that you've been in business for at least 12 months. But I mention it here because these are things that you could think about for, if you do get going and you're successful to some degree, you want to make sure that you're really looking out there for programs and grants and any other opportunities that can help you save money or pay for things in your business that you just, would spare yourself from having to pay for outright. So a great example is there's a coffee shop here in our region that won a $20,000 Elevate grant 2 years ago now to add a patio to their location. It wasn't something that they were able to do with the money they had at the time, but they won this grant and were able to fully fund that part of their project. So we never encourage you to think about grants as a sustaining source of revenue, but they can be helpful in paying for certain things that you might be trying to do.
All right, guys. Well, that has been a great session with Art and Dom. Please join me in thanking both of them for their great counsel.
We thank you guys as well for the opportunity and hope to see you in our offices sometime soon.
All right. Looking to hear from you soon.
Take care, everyone.